Hey everyone, this is Ryan Mitchell with thetinylife.com. Today I wanted to do a video on how I go about looking for land, searching for land. This is something I've been doing over the past year at this point. So I've learned some things that I wanted to share about how to kind of make your land search journey a little bit easier. And one of the tools, and this is what I'm going to mainly do the video on today, is Zillow. And I'm not sponsored by them. They're not paying me for this. This is just honestly the tool that I found after trying lots and lots of them that works the best for me. Others may work better for you. But I guess I'll start out with saying that, the first thing I had to do was get super clear on what I actually needed, not what I kind of thought in my head of this was important or not, whatever the case is. And, I initially kind of said, oh, well, I'd like to have 20 acres, I think, and all this kind of stuff. And then I realized that when I actually sat down and thought about what I was going to actually do at my, the property that I was looking to buy, then I could, I realized basically that I didn't need as much land as I thought I did. So I ended up needing only 3 acres of really good land, and if anything else beyond that was, basically anything beyond 3 acres I just saw as bonus. And what I said, I kind of defined what is good acreage for me, and it was pretty flat. It needed to be mainly pasture or a flat enough woods that I could clear some pasture in. It needed to be within an hour drive of a certain location. Ideally, it had water in it. If not, I could get utilities to it, things like that. So from there, I started using the tool. So I have an account here, Zillow. This is my little account. So the main thing that I'm going to show you here is your saved searches, your saved homes, and then I'm going to go through some examples to show you the things that I'm looking for that I will rule out a property from. So here we go. Once you have your account, you're able to do these searches, right? You do, let's just say Charlotte, North Carolina. Okay. And you can do these different filters. You can see I have houses manufactured and lots of lands, and then some acreage here and days on Zillow, things like that. So we said here Charlotte, we have different listing types. I always do for sale by agent and by owner. I'm not looking for new construction or coming soon. Foreclosures, the thing with foreclosures right now in the market, and this is what I learned, is that foreclosures are basically going for full asking price. So you're not always finding a good deal there at this current market, and usually there's a lot of competition for those as well. Right now the market is very hot, if you will. So there's been multiple times where I found a property in the morning, I scheduled a thing to go see it that afternoon, and as I was driving there, it went under contract. So that kind of gives you an idea. I usually take off potential listings here, and I don't do any of those. I play with the prices a little bit here. I was shooting for around $100,000, but what I also did was I said, okay, at $130,000, I may be able to walk them down to around 100. So, understand that if your limit is something, maybe there's, a little bit higher price point that you can kind of negotiate down to. So that opens up a few more options if things are slim pickings. And I leave it at 0 for minimum. I'm not looking for a house necessarily, so I don't designate beds. And then, like I said, I'm looking for houses. Ultimately, what I'm doing is I'm looking for land. But the reason why I have manufactured and houses is I'm hoping to find a piece of land that's really good that has like a house that is total trash or a manufactured home that is total trash. But what it does have is connection to a power line. It probably has a septic and it probably has a well. And with a house and a manufactured home there, I know that those three things are in place. So I wouldn't have to pay for those later on. So if I can find a real beater house or manufactured home, then I can make a deal, haggle on the price because like, wow, this is a, total fixer upper. I'm gonna have to put so much money into it, and then I can actually just eventually take it down and keep all the utility connections for whatever I want to do later on. Because utilities, sewer, and drilling a well have a price tag. So if I can find these houses that have those there for me already, that's a big benefit. For here, the more filters, I put 3 acres and up. Sometimes I'll tweak this to 2.5. Just to kind of see like if it's 2.9 or something like that, then that's fine. And what I did when I first started, I did any, okay? And that means all days on Zillow. But now I've gone through several times and found that I've kind of looked at all the stuff that's been on the market for super long, and now I keep up with it. So I just set it to 30 days. So I only see like the more recent stuff, and you hit apply there. Okay. So obviously in the Charlotte, in the Charlotte area, there looks like there's one. I guess it's the acreage. So if we put this down to 1, I bet we get more. Not too many more. How about 0.25? There we go. Okay. So you can kind of see here. Now, if I'm looking for land, and this is a big city, so I'm not expecting to find many land opportunities. But when you go through here, you click over here, and you can pull up the thing. Now, you see listings with no photos. That's kind of unfortunate sometimes. Sometimes it's a really good thing, because if the listing agent of the property was too lazy to put up pictures, most people will just skip over them. But if you have a good address here and you're using Firefox, I'll select it, and then I'll do search for Google for, and what it'll do is it'll bring up a Google map right away, and then I click that. And since I'm looking for land, I'll switch to satellite. And most people don't know this feature, but if you hold down the control key and then click with your mouse and hold the mouse at the same time, you can tilt it so it's 3D. And then you zoom in and you can see the topography of the land. Now this doesn't have much. You see trees and houses and everything, but if we're in the mountains, we could see a lot of the contours, so we can kind of evaluate if the land is flat or not, if it's usable or not. So that's a little trick. If you don't see any photos, but there's a solid address on the listing here, then you can actually go in and maybe pursue that where other people might not. So some other things that I'm looking on a listing here is, I'll read this. Investor opportunity usually means a total beater, and needs a lot of work or whatever. The auction.com stuff, when I see this, I usually skip it over because that's like the foreclosure stuff. Not a good thing at this point. The big keywords I'm looking for here for me for land is I'm looking for the word community, HOA, restrictions, no mobile homes allowed, or whatever the case is there. These are things that I want unrestricted land, and if I see those words, those are typically no-goes for me. So those are some of the things I look. Let's find a land one here. If you want to save this, you can, so that you don't have to do this searching and the filtering every time, you can hit save search. You can name it, and you can even have them email it to you if you want. I just have it set up here, and I'm going to show you that now. So save searches. See, okay. So I got one kind of, well, we got a couple here. So we're going to look at this one here. So a couple pictures. We're just going to open those up. All right, so obviously I can see that this is probably a pretty steep property, has a good view, which means it's up there. Maybe really good for just a single home site, but not a large like garden and farm space kind of thing. Just views. Driveways are a good thing because, especially paved driveways, because one of the big things is you need to factor in is the cost of access to the land. So seeing things like this is good. Usually when they just take pictures of the woods from the road, it means it's not cleared. It's probably kind of steep in some cases. They're always going to take the best pictures, and they're going to trick you. I've gotten tricked so many times. So you can kind of see, like, it looks like it kind of drops off here. But they make it look real good, right? So, we just have these pictures here. This one has a lot, but, well, let's go back here. Whoop, where'd we go? So, right here. Okay, so you can see right here, it looks like a roof line. So your view may be obscured by a roof line. So what I would do is I'd try to pull a map and see if I could find like how close is the house. You'll typically see this like 999 or 000 or something like that. That means that they don't actually have an official address. So if you Google it, it won't come up. So, looking for a mountain retreat, income producing. In an established neighborhood. Okay, that's code words for we have an HOA, which for some people is really good, for other people it's not. In my case, seeing that, I would instantly skip over it, and I would hit this hide button so it doesn't come up later. Let's see. Several level building sites. Your mileage may vary when you hear that term, but sometimes it's a good thing. Let's see, old hardwoods and a mountain stream. Having surface water is really great. The one thing you got to watch out for is it in a flood zone? Because they may give you a real good deal on something that's in a flood zone, but no bank will ever let you build a house on a mortgage in a flood zone. And if you're going to spend all that money, why do you want to build it in a flood zone? Answer is you probably don't. So you can see the lots here. Let's see, anything else? Days on Zillow. No people have saved this here, and I'll kind of click here. I'll list it for sale so that, for this round, it's only no price drops yet. But at least this round, it's only been on the market for less than a day. Now, sometimes they'll cheat and they'll do little squirrely things so that it looks like when they relist it, that it's only been on the market for a while. But sometimes what they'll do is they'll list it, then they'll pull it off, and then a couple months later they'll list it again. So I've looked at the pictures. I saw this little keyword here, established neighborhood. It's not for me. I'm going to hit hide. All right. And I'll close that. So here's one of the properties that I'm kind of looking at. I talked about a beater home. Okay. This would qualify. $99,000 for a 4-bed. And this is 4.68 acres. All right. So what things I'm looking for here? You see this power line right here? Okay, I know it has power to the site. That means I may not have to spend thousands of dollars for the power company to run power. I see a satellite dish. They may not have cable, may not have internet. Okay, that's something that I have to check on if I'm going to consider this property. I see that it's open and cleared. So that's good. That's like a pasture that I may not have to do if I were just to take this down. This could very well be a future home site for me. And depending on the house, I could renovate it and fix it up. I'm not against that, but some houses are just too far gone. And here's some pictures of the inside. So, you kind of get a vibe for what this kind of place is. You kind of understand why it's $99,000, right? And what I'm doing is when I'm looking at land, I'm just skipping over this, right? I'll look at it, But what I'm usually doing is I'm just skipping ahead here till I see land shots. Okay, so I can kind of see some stuff here. There's a line, power line there. All right, here's a shot. You notice there's a shed, and look at how much green mold is. It could be like a really wet, soppy place, so maybe there's like some drainage issues, or it could just be, old and weathered. And I'm looking in the background for other houses to see how close it is. Like there's a little barn there. Is that the barn on this property or someone else's property? That's a nice looking field. I could do something with those if it is part of the property. A little oil tank, you got to watch out for oil tanks, especially the buried ones. That could be an extra cost. I see a power pole back there and what looks like a little shooting blind up there. So, okay, they got some outbuildings. These are things that I could potentially use or fix up and things like that, or reclaim the wood, whatever the case is. There's nice big open spots. Here's the back of the house. And now here's a trick that they do, and I see this a lot, is you see this fence here? This very much could be the realtor standing at the edge of a property and taking a picture of the neighbor's yard. And I've had that happen to me so many times. They're like, oh, look at these great pastures, but it's not the land that they're selling. It's the neighbor's land, which is super frustrating. So just understand you got to take these pictures with a grain of salt. Now, one thing I notice here, I see these lines. See 1, 2, 3, maybe 4, and they look like bigger lines. That may mean that there's power towers near here, like along big high tension or high voltage power lines. And that's one of the deal breakers that I've set for myself, is I don't want to be near power lines, big ones. I don't mind like the ones connecting the house or anything, but large transmission lines is something I don't want. So I would need to pull a map to see if those are actually power lines. More house pictures. There's another shed. There's a lot of outbuildings on this, and that looks kind of flattish. Like I see a lot over like scrub brush, but I can bush hog that and do that. So, all right. This is looking like maybe some potential, maybe some not. We don't know quite yet. So we're just going to pull it up on the map because we have a good address here. We're going to switch over to satellite. This is in Google Maps. And it looks like this is the property. All right, so control, and we hold the toggle. And this is the house that is in question. So it looks like there's a house there. There's a driveway that goes probably to that house right there. Oh, there's another house back there. There's a nice looking house there. You can tell, a nice manicured lawn. Tree farm right here. I'm thinking that this property, that's interesting, is it's probably this kind of area, or maybe this field. I don't know, because it's 4.6 acres. That's not small. And then there's this line here. That could be power poles, or that could just be a seam in the pictures. I don't know. We're going to have to find out. The other thing we can do is take our little man. We put it right here. So we get street view. Now we're going to look, because it's this direction. So the house is somewhere back there. Oh, yeah, those are just fences. Okay. Somewhere in there is the house. So those are those lines. So that's a small pole. I might be okay with that. We're gonna go down here. Looks like an entrance or something. Now we'll just go back to map here. So we were right there. So, I mean, this has some potential because, I mean, if we look at it, that's pretty darn flat. It has power to it. There's I don't see like a ton of, things like a trailer park that's real run down or junkyard or something like that nearby. So, this is in Bakersville, North Carolina. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to search Bakersville, North Carolina GIS. And basically the GIS is the municipal way that cities kind of do all their taxes and their plot stuff, finding parcel lot lines and whatnot. All right, we're going to see this. And every single one of these is different, but usually you want to look for layers. I like to turn on contours, and then where we're looking for photography, maybe. There we go. All right, I'm going to turn off contours for a second. All right, so it looks like our lot right here is right there. Okay. And this is the 47 Woody Hills, and we can see, looks like our lot lines are this. So like it has some good pastures in it, right? Like it's most of this here. And I can kind of, if you right click, you do measure distance. Your first one's going to be where you right clicked, and your second one will be there where you click again. So that's 200 feet right there. And then we'll go click there. And then that was like a 250 feet. So there's like an acre and a half of cleared land. That's really nice, it looks like. And then the house and things like that. And then what? Layers. We're going to go to layers here. I'm going to turn contours. We already know this, but you can kind of see the contour line. So it's very, very flat here. But you can see it gets steeper over there. And another thing I want to show you is flood hazards. All right, we're going to turn on that. We're just trying to get it to, doesn't look like. So we just want to make sure that sometimes they put roads along streams, right? Because that's the flat part. So we just want to make sure that this isn't a flood zone. It probably isn't because there's a bunch of houses here. So this is a property that I would be interested in looking at, or at least getting more information on at this point, right? Because home needs a lot of TLC. We knew that. The land is perfect for farm animals. If they're saying for farm animals, it probably means that there isn't any restrictions, right? Because, if they're saying farm animals, most HOAs would never dream of mentioning that. Rebels Creek flows through the front of the property. Okay, what did I say, guys? It probably has a little stream here. We can't see it, but now we know that because we've read that, we need to make sure that there is no flood zone thing here. It probably isn't, but it's just one of those things we need to check out. With some land cleanup, you could enhance the property, blah, blah, blah. Okay, yeah, great. So, 4.6 acres. I'm looking here for, anything that mentions an HOA or restrictions. Spring on property. Oh, so that's interesting, right? 52 shoppers have, and it's been on Zillow for 2 days. That's it. That's interesting. So a lot of people are interested in this. Taxes here, 781. Usually you can find the taxes in here. I don't know specifically for this system, but most of them have it, where you can find the taxes and the owner and things like that. That's really useful. So this is a property that I would reach out to my real estate agent, because it's in my area. It doesn't have restrictions. It has utilities. It has the acreage. It's flat. It needs a whole lot of work, or just or a match. It's one or the other. But I think those are some really interesting options for us here. So that's that property. You can see here that you can actually draw on the map with this. Let me get at it. Let's just go to Zillow and just say Charlotte again. I don't want to mess up my. We'll try that. All right. So let's say that we wanted a certain area. We could hit this little draw thing, and you can do this on the phone too, but you actually just click, hold, and drag. So maybe you don't want to be in Belfair. You want to be on this side of these lakes because there's some bridges you don't want to cross. This up here might be a little bit of a not great area, so you're going to not include that. And we'll do that. So you see, you can kind of really be specific about the areas that you want by drawing this. And you can actually save this as a saved search. And then you hit apply, and bam, you'll find your things here. So, we got some property, 14,000. Might be moving to Hunya, Washington, or however you say that. Sorry for those that are actually from there. And just some more property. We're evaluating it, looking at the land and things like that. You can kind of see, oh, it looks like it kind of drops off. You can see some skyline over there. It's either cleared or a big drop off, probably a big drop off. But anyway, guys, that's kind of how I go through and approve, look for property if I'm just trying to find land. These are some tips and tricks that I've kind of just learned, doing my searches so that I have, things automatically highlighting them for me, so I'm not searching every single time. Evaluating pictures, evaluating different areas and different keywords, pulling them up on Google Maps, and then finding the county GIS system to get more data, and then eventually obviously going to my realtor or whoever I'm working with. So I hope that's been useful. That was a long video, but I think I kind of got into a lot of the details here. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you like it, check us out at thetinylife.com. Thanks for watching. Hey everyone, this is Ryan Mitchell with thetinylife.com. Hey everyone, this is Ryan Mitchell with thetinylife.com. Today I wanted to do a video on how I go about looking for land, searching for land. This is something I've been doing over the past year at this point. So I've learned some things that I wanted to share about how to kind of make your land search journey a little bit easier. And one of the tools, and this is what I'm going to mainly do the video on today, is Zillow. And